Selamünaleyküm.
Aleykümselam Nur Hanım, hoş geldiniz.
Hoş buldum, teşekkürler. Ses nasıl geliyor? Güzel mi?
Sizin sesiniz harika, hiçbir sıkıntı yok.
Tamam, güzel.
Ben
Şimdi ne
şimdi
zaman başlayacağız? Selamünaleyküm.
aleykümselam Nur Hanım, hoş geldiniz.
Hoş buldum, teşekkürler. Ses nasıl geliyor?
Bir yandan YouTube açık Nur Hanım, oradan ses geri geliyor. Şunu kapatayım.
Evet, tamam.
Ben sonradan fark ettim. Şimdi sesiniz tamam, her şey okey. Ben sizi bir de tercüman olarak atıyorum. Ee,
Tamam,
Oradan
teşekkürler.
buluyorum sizi.
Teşekkürler. Eğer bir iş problem varsa benim yanıma diğer yani benim telefon vardı. Yani eğer şey çıkıyorsa katılacağım diğer kompüterden ya mobilden. Olur
Yok,
mu?
şu an harika sesiniz. Şu an hiçbir sıkıntı
Tamam.
yok.
Güzel. Güzel.
Bir de
Teşekkürler.
tercüman olarak atıyorum şimdi sizi İngilizce,
Güzel.
Arapça diye. Bir de
Hı
öyle duyuyorum sesinizi. Siz de
hı.
oradan alttan dili seçebilirsiniz.
Tamam. Bir soru biz saat kaçta başlayacağız?
1.30. 13.30.
1:30. Yani bir saat sonra. Hı hı.
Doğru, evet.
Tamam. Teşekkürler.
Ben şimdi sizi tercüman olarak atadım. Şimdi Nur Hanım bakıyorum. İngilizceyi seçiyor. Pardon. Ya, İngilizce doğru. İngilizceyi seçtim. Sizi duymam lazım. Super good. Şimdi bir de harika. Şimdi bir de Arapçayı seçiyorum. Bir de sizi Arapça duyarsak. Süper. İsterseniz Nur Hanım şöyle yapalım. Hazır böyle kalsın telefonunuzda. Siz mikrofonunuzu kapatın. Toplantı başlayınca da girebilirsiniz. Nasıl isterseniz. Şu an ama sizin şeyinizi oluşturmuş olduk. Sizi tercüman olarak atamış olduk. Tamam. Tamamdır Nur Hanım. Görüşmek üzere. Sağ olun.
الآن في الغرفة التقنية الأخوة لأجل يربطونكم على الزوم بعد 10 دقائق يعملون تجربة مع حضراتكم. أنتم ستقدمونها باللغة الإنجليزية صحيح؟ سنخرج من الزوم، نحن عندنا ترجمتين إلى اللغتين مختلفتين. أنتم ستتكلمون باللغة الإنجليزية، وفي عندنا أخت ستسمع الإنجليزي وتترجم إلى العربي، وفي عندنا أخ سيسمع الإنجليزي ويترجم إلى التركي. ويكون هناك 3 قنوات مختلفة بث مباشر بلغات مختلفة، والزوم طبعا يبقى دائما بالإنجليزي، وهناك في خيار ترجمة في الزوم إلى اللغات المختلفة، ما في مشكلة يعني الذي حتى يشارك
Connect'ten girmeye çalışıyorum.
Tamam bekleyecek 13 oldu bu toplantı.
Yok oğlum Kerem.
Tamam
Devam.
bekleyecek onu da 12 şimdi alalım. Demo yapalım.
12 mi
Tamam.
dedin?
Buse'cim beni duyuyor musun? Buse duyuyor musun? Bir dakika ben seni duyamıyorum. Çünkü seni tercüman yapmışız. Seni hangi dilden dinlemem gerekiyor? Türkçeden. Tamam. Şimdi bir daha konuş. Süper. Bir de İngilizceyi seçebilir misin? Bir de İngilizce kanalından duyayım seni. Şimdi konuş. Duyuyorum seni. Süper. Ama sanırım sen genellikle TR'yi kullanacaksın. Türkçeden çıkacaksın. E, Flor dil İngilizce. Sen İngilizceyi Türkçe'ye çevireceksin. Bir de Nur Hakkı var çevirmen. O da İngilizce duyduklarını Arapça'ya çevirecek. Böyle bir şey yani. Ben seni tekrar Türkçe seçiyorum. Sesin bir tık az geliyor ama sanki. Olur.
هذا عليه الغرفة
Kulaklıkla da bir deneyelim.
ولذلك لا أريد أن أحد يشعر هذا الشيء كأنه نقص إداري يعني. لا يشعرون هذا الشيء، أنتم تديرون العملية. أنا أفضل العرض يكون مثلا تقريبا 45 دقيقة العرض، يعني افتتاح 5 دقائق العرض
Ben Türkçe'ye aldım, sen
45
İngilizce'ye aldın. Ben tekrar Türkçe'ye aldım.
وبعده
Şimdi duyabiliyorum.
في الوسط تقول شخص عنده أسئلة يسجل تكتبه في الزوم في الزاوية،
Bir daha konuş.
وتأتي آخر نصف ساعة
Ha, tamam, sıkıntı yok.
بهذا الشكل، يعني 3 إلى 5 دقائق. حاولوا أن يعني تحاولوا ترتبوا الأمور إن شاء الله. والله أعتذر يعني كان الأستاذ مهمد من يدير الباقي القسم، ولكن صار له صار لا أحب أن أدخل أحدا آخر لأجل إدارة الجلسة حتى لا نشعر الضعف يعني في هذا المجال. أنتم صاحب البيت وأنتم أهل البيت يعني، لذلك إن شاء الله. وأي شيء هناك صار
Bakıyorum.
طارئ تخاطبوننا. في هناك 3 إخوة الآن
Şu an daha iyi.
المحاولة التقنية يعني
Tonlamalar konusunda olabildiğince canlı rica ediyoruz.
بعد قليل سنرسل
Tonlamalar, vurgular, yüklenebildiğin kadar yüklen. Duygu geçsin karşı tarafa yani çevir esnasında.
شكرا.
Ama hala az olduğunu düşünüyorum senin sesinin.
Bir metin hazırlayıp soru cevapları böyle durum. Ben şimdi ilgilerim bilmiyorum.
Şu an harika. Şu an harika.
Ha, bu dediğim
Bak şu an tam ideal ses. Böyle devam edebiliriz. Tamam. Birazdan moderatörümüzle ana konuşmacımız bağlanacak. Orada da destek istiyoruz senden prova yaparken. Tabii tabii. Sen direkt Türkçe kanalından onlar ne konuşurlarsa çevir. Biz de buradan duyalım. Bence, bence main dinle. Baktın seçiyor insanlar. İngilizceye geçersin ama şu an main audio garanti olur. Ben de buradan bir Arapçayı seçeyim. Tamam. Şuradan kaydı başlatayım garanti olsun. Tamam. Sen kapatabilirsin istersen mikrofonunu. Şu an sıkıntı yok. Buse, rica etsem İngilizce kanalından çıkış yapabilir misin? Şu an harika, evet.
هو يريد
Buradan durduruyorum. Buse, rica etsem
Yusuf.
Hocam bakıyorum. İspada var hocam.
Mehmet Bulut.
Nur Hanım, Buse Hanım, şu an ana
Selamünaleyküm.
konuşmacımız Fazıl Kerim Bey geldi. Onunla bir demo çalışma yapacağız. O esnada
Selamünaleyküm.
sizden
Ben buradayım efendim.
aleykümselam hocam, hoş geldiniz.
Hoş bulduk.
Hocam bakıyorum.
Ee,
İspada var hocam.
Hocam şu an Nur Hanım, Buse Hanım, şu an ana konuşmacımız Fazıl Kerim Bey geldi.
Taraflarında eğilmişsin, çalışıyorsun ona. Ben de çekiyorum.
Bakıyorum hocam.
Zaten çalışıyorsunuz.
Hocam şu an bakıyorum. Ben ana kanala geçtim. Fazıl Kerim hocam, konuşabilir misiniz? Sizi diğer dillerden de dinleyelim. Üstad Fazıl.
Efendim ben bu kadar Türkçe biliyorum. İngilizce konuş inşallah.
It's okay Üstad.
Yeah. Go ahead please tell me you're saying something.
Yep, something sure.
You can hear me? My mic is clear?
Yes, so much Üstad. Bu sesini Türkçe kanalından duyabilir miyiz? Süper. Ben şimdi Nur Hanım'ı da bir dinliyorum Arapça kanalın. Tamam Nur Hanım. Fazıl Kerim Bey duydu. Bir sıkıntı yok. Tamam. Mehmet Ali Bulut hocamız açacak. Fazıl Bey'e atacak topu. E, Arkasından başlayacağız yayına.
Alalım yayınlarını millet hocam. Şimdi, bugün herkes sessize alalım.
Şu an herkes sessiz aldı. Hocam ama Mehmet Ali Bulut şu an şeyde yok. Ha, şimdi geldi hocam Mehmet Ali Bulut.
Kapattım hocam.
Evet hocam, cep telefonundan geldi Mehmet Ali Bey.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Abdul Aziz from Bangladesh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, Abdulaziz. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Nice to see you, bro.
Thank
Mashallah.
you. Next meeting is with you, inshallah, right?
Inshallah,
In 9th of
inshallah,
March, huh?
inshallah. And 9 of March.
Yeah.
It is in 9th March. Okay, inshallah. And
Inshallah.
I think, will you visit in Malaysia soon?
Yes, inshallah. In 19th of February, I will be there.
So you may proceed with Bangladesh in that line, if possible. So from Malaysia, Bangladesh is very near. So
Next
can
time,
you
inshallah.
please make a
Next time,
program for
inshallah.
Bangladesh, inshallah?
Next time, inshallah.
Next time, Okay.
Inshallah.
So, okay, it would be great if you please just inform us what time is preferable to you, so that we can organize some economics conference and some other things, Islamic economics conference and other things, inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Inshallah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shukran. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thanks.
How are you, friends? Dr. Balut, how are you? It's nice to see you here.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Very good to see you.
Thank you
everybody.
very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mehmet Ali hocam, siz hazır olduğunuzda biz başlayabiliriz.
Okay. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmaîn.
Dr. Mahmoud, I think we can't hear you.
Mehmet Ali hocam, dil seçtiniz sanırım. Sesiniz farklı dilden geliyor. Hocam, orijinal sesi seçebilir misiniz? Dil seçimi butonu var aşağıda.
Assalamu alaikum ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Bismillah ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulillah. My dear brothers and sisters, today we have our second international conference on Islamic publishing on international level.
Hocam, dil seçimi.
Evet hocayı da kapattım.
No.
Sesi kapalı şu an.
Mehmet Ali hocam, sesiniz kapalı. Hemen açıyorum. Evet hocam, duyabiliyoruz şimdi sizi.
Esselamu aleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Bismillah ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulillah. My dear brothers and sisters, it is very good to have you today. Today we have the second international conference on Islamic publishing, which is related to Indian continent. And Fazlul Karim, Dr. Fazlul Karim, will make this presentation, inshallah. Thank you very much, Dr. Fazlul Karim, to be with us today for your good presentation. And inshallah, the following one, the third one, will be on Bangladesh at 9th of March, inshallah, with Dr. Abdulaziz. And I would like to thank all of you again for being with us today. And I hope this kind of activities will empower our activities, and inshallah for the future, we can benefit from this kind of conferences to cover the stories and the realities in Islamic world about Islamic publishing. And I hope, inshallah, we can also make good contributions for Islamic Ummah and for all humanity with this kind of activities. And I do not want to take your time more. And now I would like to give the floor to Dr. Fazlul Karim, and he will make his presentation. And then, inshallah, he will get your questions and your suggestions, comments. From now, the floor is yours, Dr. Fazlul Karim. Thank you for your presentation and for your moderation today. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Mahmoud, for the beautiful introduction. And Jazakallah khair, everyone, for joining us on this second conference that we are organizing online. I first of all greet you with the Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa mawala. Amma ba'd. So my discussion today will be focusing on the Islamic book publishing reality in India. And I will be trying to cover what has taken place in India in the past, in the Islamic publishing that has taken place in India in the early years, in the pre-modern times, following that, then the modern times, and continuing with the future scenarios that exist. So I would want to discuss about the past, the present, and the future. And obviously, as I am discussing with publishers, so that I would also like to discuss with respect to how can publishers, by understanding the Indian market, be able to enter the Indian publishing scene. So before I proceed, I will inshallah start my PowerPoint slide. I hope, are you able to see my slide? If you could, if you could just tell me. Yes, you can tell me if you're able to see my slide, inshallah. Are you able to see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. So, so my discussion is about India, and modern day India, remember, is different to what India was in the past. This is very important. There has to be some discussion about the history. And India, if we understand what has happened is that the previous India is different to the India of today. And that is because India in the past comprised of 3 different countries which are known today, which is in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India. And Pakistan and Bangladesh were partitioned, or India was partitioned into 2 countries in 1947. There was subsequently another partition that took place in the 70s where East Pakistan and West Pakistan was separated. This is relevant. This is very important for us because this changed the demography of India. This changed the population of India. This changed the reality of the Muslims in India. Modern day India has close to over 200 million Muslims, and they comprise of about 20% of the population. India is today the largest or the most populated country in the world, with over 1.2 billion people officially. And close to 20% of them are Muslims. Official statistics say about 15%, but unofficially it is between 20 and 25%. So we're talking about close to 200 to 250 million Muslims who live in India. And remember, prior to partition, obviously, this was a much larger population. We are talking about, in modern day times, we have over 200 million, 250 million Pakistan and another 200 million in Bangladesh, approximately. Combined, if that was, if India had not been partitioned, we are talking about a population of approximately 650 to 700 million Muslims in combined India. That would have been a very different scenario for India. But that was just some idea about the history of India. And that is important because some of the discussions that I'm going to be doing with respect to what was being published in the past is going to be very relevant here. And so before I proceed, yes, so I'm going to be focusing on India. Now, I know our brothers from Bangladesh, inshallah, next week, they will be, next month, they will be hosting the conference, and they will be giving a lot of insights into the Islamic publishing in Bangladesh. In the future, we should also have another session about Pakistan. That will give you a understanding of the whole of the Indian subcontinent. So let's talk about the language. Now, in our previous session, which we had with Dr. Hashim, the discussion was about the Malaya language, yes, and there was some discussion about Chinese and English. But in India, it's a very different scenario because I don't know if how many of you know, but India has over 1,000 languages. The world has 6,000 languages, which have been registered, but India has 1,000 of those languages. And out of those 1,000 languages, if I'm not wrong, 22 of them are official. And 14 of them are actually printed on the currency note which we have. So the currency note which we have has over about 14 languages mentioned on it, and all of them are prominent languages. And so this is going to be very important for us to understand what is that language that Muslims speak? What is that language that Muslims understand? And to address that, the most important language for Muslims in the past used to be Urdu. But in modern day times, and that is after the independence of India from the British, it is more about other languages that have taken the place of Urdu. There is Hindi. There is, in the south of India, another language that is very important is Malayalam, which is spoken by the people of Kerala. If some of you know about Kerala. Kerala is the southernmost state of India. It's the most educated state in India. They have 99% literacy rate in Kerala. Next to that is another state which is called Tamil Nadu. The Tamil language is spoken there. Just north of that is another state called Karnataka. Now, so we're talking about a continent here. This is a huge country which is from north to south 3,000 kilometers. And so it's important to appreciate that the language is different from state to state. In fact, the reality in India sometimes can be that you may have a different language just after 100 kilometers. So you travel from one place to another, and there you are, just after 100 kilometers, you have a different language completely. So it's going to be very important for us to be, as publishers, it's very important for us to be able to appreciate what are those languages that Muslims are reading, Muslims are speaking. Also, what about the non-Muslims? Because remember, as Muslim Islamic publishers, we also target non-Muslims to be able to explain to them our religion, to be able to present Islam to them, to be able to give da'wah to them. So for that, to be able to understand what are their languages is also important. So some of the most important languages include Hindi, Urdu, Malayalam, Bengali, which is a very important language, Marathi, Kannada, Telugu. These are some of the most important languages that are spoken and read by Indians. And they are all those languages that are basically mentioned on an Indian currency note. I just wanted to ask you, by the way, are you able to see my video? My camera, is my camera open, or is it just my slide?
It's open. It's open.
Okay. Just a moment. Okay, that's not for me. So I want to proceed. Further and discuss about just one more point before I proceed on to the next slide, and that is about religion. Yes, and remember, as I said, that is about 200 million people are Muslims, but then there is about 850 or 900 million. Who are they? So among the 900, about 800 million of them classify themselves as Hindus, and they are primarily polytheists. They believe in they believe in different idols. They're polytheists, and it's not necessary that they are a homogeneous body. They are not a single unitary group. They are not a unified group. The 800 million Hindus worship hundreds of thousands of different gods. But what really unites them is the idea that they're all polytheists. They all believe in idol worship. So it's important to appreciate this difference. And very small segment, about close to 5% or less than that, are Christians. And Christians are primarily a result of the missionary activities of the colonialists in India. So the Portuguese, the French, the British, they all occupied India, or different parts of India. The British were the ones who occupied large parts of India for a very long time, but the Portuguese also did, the French also did occupy parts of India. And as a result of that, you have Christians. Also, there is another segment of the Hindus, which is called Sikh. They also comprise of about 1% of the population. And so to understand and just to make it clear in our minds, so we have the Muslims who are the second majority. Yes. So there's the Hindu, the largest majority, and there's the Muslims that is the second after the Hindus. And they are spread all across the country. There is no particular place where you can say that this is a Muslim land, except for Kashmir, which is a very unique reality. Kashmir is one land where the majority population, or in fact, 98 or 97% of the population is Muslim. Apart from that, all other states have a mix of Muslims and Hindus, and generally Muslims are in between 10 to 30% of the population of various areas. So I'm going to proceed on to a discussion about what exactly is happening in India in terms of the Islamic publishing. Yes, and so Islamic publishing holds a significant space in India, and it caters to the needs and interests of the sizable Muslim population, also while catering to the non-Muslims, non-Muslim population, with the idea of giving them dawah. And Islamic publishing in India encompasses the creation and dissemination of books, manuscripts, and publications, and they delve into various areas. We're talking about scholarly works, we're talking about historical um, accounts, or we're talking about scholarly works like that dive deep into Islamic theology, jurisprudence, which is fiqh, philosophy, falsafa, and tasawwuf. And when we talk about religious texts, we're talking about translations and interpretations of the Quran. Some of the earliest translations of the Quran were undertaken in India. The earliest printing of the Quran happened. One of the earliest printings of the Quran on a printing press happened in India. The same with the Hadith and other foundational Islamic scriptures. Similarly, we're talking about another category, which is the historical accounts, exploring the rich heritage of Islam, including biographies of prominent figures and analysis of significant incidents and events. In addition to that, another category is literature and poetry. And so remember, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about most of what I'm talking about is the past, yes, and I'm giving a general overview of what has been happening in the past and in modern times as well. And so, in terms of literature and poetry, we're talking about books of poems and literature, classical and contemporary works that express the beauty and complexity of the Islamic experience. In addition to that, another area where Islamic publishers have excelled in India is educational materials, by catering to students of all ages, providing accessible and engaging resources for learning about Islam. And then there is the contemporary discussions, or addressing contemporary realities, that is addressing current social, political, and cultural issues from an Islamic perspective. And a question arises, yes, in a country which is right at the moment in the news for the dynamics that it has with respect to Muslims. And we've recently heard about how, I'm sure you've been following the news, how one of the oldest masjids in India was replaced with a temple. And that really brings India into the forelight. And there's this question about Muslims and their role and their place in India. And this is this question arises, yes. So how is Islamic publishing relevant? What has Islamic publishing contributed to India? And what can it contribute to India in the future? Because as publishers, this is what we're really looking at. We're trying to understand what has been happening, and what can we do? And as people who are outside, what is it that we can do to contribute to the Islamic publishing domain in India? One of the most important areas which Islamic publishing plays in India is the preservation and promotion of Islamic knowledge and heritage. For Muslims in India, it is a challenge. It is a daily challenge for them. It is very important, and they have to take it as a challenge to be able to preserve their deen and present it. So they have to save it and present it because of the continuous onslaught of the foreign culture. So we're living in a very different kind of world. We are talking about the Western onslaught, which is the civilizational onslaught of the West on Muslims as a whole. But then in India, you have this additional dynamics, which is the onslaught or the challenge of the Hindu civilization or the Hindu culture on Islam and Muslims. So the preservation and promotion of Islamic knowledge and heritage is an important duty that Islamic publishing the industry has undertaken and continues to undertake. Similarly, another duty that they have undertaken and continue to undertake is the facilitation of interfaith dialogue and understanding. Another is the empowerment of the Muslim community through education and information. And another area is providing a platform for critical reflection and contemporary interpretations of Islam. And so what has happened is, as a result of this, by catering to the diverse needs and interests of its audience, Islamic publishing in India continues to flourish, making significant contributions to the country's intellectual and cultural landscape. So as I mentioned earlier, what I would really want to do is discuss about publishing in India and break it into three areas. I want to discuss about the past, what has already taken place in the past. I want to discuss about what's happening today. And I want to discuss about what can happen in the future. I want to project about what are the areas where work can be done. How can publishers contribute? How can publishers out now, I want to just do a quick overview about the earliest works that have happened in India, and I want to discuss about some of the earliest writings that have reached us from India. And for that, I want to begin with just a moment. Yes. So I want to begin by discussing about some of the interesting books of hadith and lexicographers in the past year. So, for example, we have this very famous book, which is Al-Ubab al-Zakhir, which was by Hassan bin Muhammad al-Saghani, and it is considered as one of the most reliable and authoritative reference books in the Arabic language. Imam Zahabi has described him as an embodiment of learning and an ultimate authority on lexicography. Now, I don't want to take a lot of time discussing this. I just want to do an overview, yes, just to give you an idea. And we're talking about books that were published, in about 700 years ago, 600 years ago. For example, Al-Ubab al-Zakhir, its author died in 650 Hijrah. So you can imagine that this was close to 700 years ago. And similarly, we have other books, well-known books like Mashariq al-Anwar, which is a well-known book on the traditions of the Prophet. And it was prescribed as a textbook in the educational institutions of various Arab countries and still popular in the Muslim world. And belonging to the similar class is a book like Kanzul Ummal fi Sunan al-Aqwali wal-Af'al, which was written in the 16th century. We're talking about close to 400 years ago. The author died in 975 Hijrah. And so it is an edited version of Allama Suyuti's Jam'ul Jawami', and it ranks among the books of hadith that have been of immense benefit to students by saving them from the trouble of having to go through thick volumes of original sources and bibliographies. And similarly, then there are other books, yes, like the Fatawa al-Hindiya, which is also known as Fatawa al-Alamgiriyya. And it is a well-known reference book on Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh. And in Islamic countries, where the juristic structure is based on the Hanafi school, this book is a book that they rely upon, and great reliance is placed on this book in the interpretation of laws. So it's a very valuable book in the area of legal principles. And no, I mean, this is just a very brief discussion. I absolutely cannot do justice to this subject because it is a subject that itself needs a lengthy discussion. But what I wanted to give you a glimpse of, an idea about, is the amount of research work and original work. I'm not talking about secondary, I'm talking about original work that has happened in the Indian subcontinent. Remember, this is not India anymore, because when we are talking about that time, there is no India. It's just one landmass, and that was most of the times under the rulership of Muslims. Similarly, one of the famous books which was written during those times was Hujjatullah al-Baligha by Shah Waliullah ad-Dahlawi, a very well-known book, very popular. They say it is the second after Muqaddama Ibn Khaldun. It's a unique and original work, and the like of which does not exist in the entire Arabic literature, considering the kind of subjects it covers, which includes philosophy and Sharia and the fundamental principles governing legislation in Islam. I want to so it's important to appreciate, what has really happened in the Indian subcontinent is that the Muslims there, they were actively contributing to the even though they were living with non-Muslims in a mixed environment, but they were actively contributing to the material, cultural, intellectual, and spiritual progress of the nation. While remaining connected to their deen and to the Islamic civilization and the Islamic Ummah. And the Muslims excelled the Indian Muslims excelled at balancing this relationship. So I want to proceed and now discuss about earliest publishing. When I mean publishing, I mean formal publishing that started taking place in India. Now, we have to keep in mind that printing technology arrived in India later than other areas. So there are some narrations, there's some history that the early printing presses established in India were undertaken by the Portuguese missionaries. And their focus was on Christian texts and European languages. And in Muslim publishing really did not appear until the 18th century. And it was primarily in Lucknow and Calcutta. These are the two places where we had Islamic publishing coming up. And the Britishers also set up certain presses which were used by the Muslims. So we had the Fort William College Press, which was established in the eastern part of the nation, which is close to Bangladesh, in modern day Bangladesh, in Calcutta. And this was established in the early 1800s. And then we had other presses that came up in Lucknow. An important press that came up in Lucknow was the Nawal Kishore Press. This is a very interesting press and a very interesting person. It was owned by a Hindu, but he is said to have published over 5,000 books in Arabic, Bengali, Hindi, English, Marathi, Punjabi in the 18th century. And a lot of these books were about Islamic history, Islamic philosophy, fiqh. So, this press prepared seminal texts of medieval history, such as Ain Akbari, Akbarnama, Tarikh-e Firishta, and Rawzat al-Safa and Tarikh al-Mutaakhirin. And interestingly, they also published editions of the Quran. It is said that they published more books on Islam than any other 19th century publisher. So they also, the staff of this particular press, they edited, translated, and printed classical Quranic commentaries, collections of hadith, Islamic legal texts in Urdu, Persian, and Arabic. It's a very important point I forgot to mention, which is about the role of Persian. In India, Persian played a very big role. A lot of the Islamic texts were written in Persian. The official language of the state was Persian. And so a lot of the learnings were happening in Persian. And even today, the Dars-e-Nizami, which is the system of curriculum used by many madrasas in India, continue to teach and study Persian. So one of the subjects they study apart from Arabic and Urdu is Persian. It's a compulsory subject in Dars-e-Nizami because many of the books that they have to access from the classical texts are in Persian, Farsi. So this particular press, which is the Nawal Kishore Press, which was established in 1857, published a lot of works of some very important scholars like Abdul Haq al-Dihlawi and Mujaddid al-Fasani, who is well known as Imam al-Rabbani in Turkey for Turkish brothers, and Imam Ghazali, Abdullah Nasafi, Ibn Arabi, and others, yes. And it's a very interesting thing that he was Hindu, and he was still working in this area. They say that when he died, they did not cremate him, rather they buried him. Some people said that he had secretly converted to Islam, but had not proclaimed his conversion to Islam. So this is some of the earliest publishing that was happening. So the Muslims were either they were either presses that were dedicated to publishing Muslim text, Islamic text, or they were just general printers, and so the publishers would come and get their material printed at those presses. One of the important publishings that happened during that period of time was the printing of the Quran. And the earliest prints, one of the earliest printing, mass scale printings that happened for the Quran was in Iran. And soon after that, the Indian Muslims worked on trying to print the Quran, and they subsequently printed the Quran and also started translating the Quran. So there were multiple attempts to translate. One of the first attempts was during the era of Shah Waliullah Dehlawi. If I'm not wrong, it was his son-in-law who worked on this project to first translate the Quran. And then there were subsequently many other attempts to translate the Quran and make it available for the masses. Now I want to proceed on to the discussion about the Islamic publishing during the colonial period. And what I mean by the colonial period is, remember, as I mentioned initially, Islam, large parts of the Indian subcontinent were ruled by Islam. Islam reached India in the 7th century of the Christian era at the hands of Muhammad bin Qasim during the Umayyad period, and it very soon spread into large parts of India, and by the 12th and the 13th century, large sections of modern day India were under the Islamic rule. And so this continued and until the 17th century, when the Europeans started to travel to India. And at first they entered India as traders, but very soon after that, they were able to occupy parts of India, and eventually this continued until they were able to occupy the whole of India. And so in a period of about 100 150 years, from being an Islamic, from being under Islamic rule, it had come to be under the British rule. So 1857 was effectively the last existence of any resemblance of Islamic rule in India. And right after, at 1857, that was the last attempt when the Muslims actually rebelled against the British by organizing a rebellion, and there was a lot of bloodshed. A lot of Muslims and a lot of ulama were killed during that period, and the Muslims were not successful in that. And that was the last Muslim ruler who was eventually sent on exile to modern day Myanmar. This is where he died, Bahadur Shah Zafar, for those of you who may be interested in knowing more about him. He died there. His maqbara is also there. Now, and that was a very alarming period. This is very important to understand, because for the Muslims, this was surprising, because all these years they had been running the country. They were the ones in power, in charge, and they were free to do what they wanted. And they were able to do successfully a lot of Islamic work. They were able to do a lot of research, a lot of writing, a lot of publishing. This is the what we can say as the golden era of the Muslims of India, which is the 12th century onwards till the 16th and the 17th century, if you may say. And so what happens right after 1857 is that this is a new challenge that they are facing, and they're worried, how are we going to sustain, and how are we going to ensure that we can remain Muslims while continuing to undertake the responsibility that Allah has given us, which is to carry this deen to others, which is to take this deen to those who are not Muslims yet. And so this is that period when a lot of movements started in India. There were a lot of research activities that started taking in India, all so as to be able to address this new challenge, which is of the Britishers occupying India and considering the Muslims as enemies. Remember one point there, that the Muslims were considered as enemy number one, while the Hindus were not so much, because the Hindus were not that unhappy with the Britishers. They were finding Britishers to be okay. They considered the Britishers to be their saviors from Muslims. They said, see, listen, it is better to have the Britishers than to have Muslims. So the Britishers considered Hindus to be less of an enemy than Muslims. They did consider them as enemies. They did consider them as lower than themselves. However, they considered the Muslims to be the enemy number one. And so the Muslims had to go through a difficult time after 1857, especially for those who had rebelled against the governments. So we had a lot of madrasas that started opening at that time. Yes, and remember, the Islamic system of teaching in the past was through the madrasa. And we're not talking about madrasas which look like madrasas today. And these are madrasas which were teaching ulum diniya, they were teaching philosophy, they were teaching maths, they were teaching algorithm, they were teaching it was about holistic education, if I may use the word. And so you had a lot of madrasas that came up during that period. Some of the very popular ones are Darul Ulum Deoband, Mazahirul Ulum, Nadwatul Ulama, Madrasatul Islah, Madrasa Salafiyya, Manzar Islam, Aligarh Muslim University, Jamia Milliya, Islamiyya, Jamia Darus Salam, Umrabad, and Baqiyatul Salihah. This is probably even 0.01% of the names of the madrasas that were established during that time. This obviously, as I mentioned earlier, probably needs an independent session of its own, of the kind of work that had happened during those times. Yes, there is a very good book by Maulana Abdul Hayy, Al-Thaqafatul Islamiyya fil Hind, and I believe it's accessible online as well. And that is a beautiful book to be able to understand what really happened, the kind of contributions that the scholars did, and the kind of research they did, and the amount of original work that had happened in India. At the same time, there were other movements also that were being established. So right in the early 19th century, you had Jamaat Islami that was established. There was Tablighi Jamaat. there was a Razaya Mustafa, there were movements that were coming into place. All these movements now are with one intention, which is to ensure that the Muslim Ummah is able to retain its deen. And because they were really facing the challenge, there were challenges from multiple aspects. And so they were realizing that the Muslims are becoming weak in their deen, and that there needed to be movements, they needed to build movements to ensure that the Muslims were strong in their deen. And so these are some of those movements that came about, yes. Now, associated with all of these movements and all of these madrasas were publications. Some of these universities had or madrasas had their own presses, like for example, Jamia Millia Islamia, which is a university that was established in 1920, has its own publication house called Maktaba Jamia, and Maktaba Jamia still continues to publish books. Maktaba Jamia still exists. It still has books. A lot of their books are in Urdu language, and they have varying range of books. Books on children, tarbiyah, children's child psychology, books on upbringing, parenting, books on poetry, novels, fiction, non-fiction. And so this was the kind of reality which a lot of these madrasas had, yes. Some of them were more oriented towards Islamic publishing, like, for example, Darul Uloom Deoband. It was more oriented towards Islamic research and the tarbiyah of the next generation into ulama. So this was something that was happening during those times, yes. And so the movements, however, were more actively publishing material which was contemporary. For example, Jamaat Islami played a very big role, and they are one of the biggest bodies or biggest movements that exist in the subcontinent, with it currently having branches in all the three countries, yes. And they established presses in all these countries, and in India they had presses in the north and in the south, and they published in multiple languages. The Jamaat Islami probably is one of those movements that published in all languages which were relevant to Muslims. And this is a body that still exists. This was founded by Abu al-Ala Maududi in 1941. And the same with Tablighi Jamaat. Tablighi Jamaat was founded in 1926. And the Tablighi Jamaat was more of a ground or a root worker on the ground, and they worked in those areas primarily where Muslims had problem engaging with Hindus and were becoming weak in their deen. And they had a big impact in the North Indian areas, and they continue to be a very influential organization. And so they also publish a lot of literature. Their literature is widespread, globally available, and it continues to be a very important organization in the Indian scenario. So I want to now proceed on to some of the Islamic the research work that happened during that time. Yes. Now, again and again, I want to make one point that I want to highlight. Yes. Remember that a session like this is probably just a cursory glance of what was happening at that time. So it's important to appreciate that this is not exhaustive. There is because considering that India is a massive country. I don't like to call it a country. It's a continent. Yes. So because of the breadth and the width of the country, because it's so big, yes, not everything that happened has reached us or can be encompassed in this session. Yes. And so I want to mention two of these important organizations that were established and that were focused on research work. Yes. Like, for example, Darul Musannifin, which was established in 1914. It continues to exist even today. They have done a lot of original work, a lot of research work, a lot of conversion of the makhtuts, that is the manuscripts, into matbu. Because remember, there is an important phase where we move from the manuscript period to the printing period, which is the 18th century. So we continue to be sort of in that period where we are moving a lot of the manuscripts into print, yes. And this continues to be a massive movement globally. And the Indian ulama also participated in this. And similarly, Dairatul Ma'arif is a very important organization that worked in this domain. They were established in 1888. They continue to be there. They have, during this period, published 800 volumes consisting of 170 titles. And a lot of their work have been praised. The ulama of Azhar have visited the Dairatul Ma'arif. This is based out of Hyderabad, by the way. Their area is hadith, history, mathematics, philosophy, asma al-rijal. So they've done work in varying areas. Now, organization like Dairatul Ma'arif, the sad part about them, even both with Darul Musannifin as well, is that they in the past had a lot of patrons. They had a lot of financial support and people who appreciated what they were doing, and so they supported them. However, the challenge in modern times is that some of them are in very bad shape, yes, and this is a reality not just in India. I have sensed that in elsewhere as well. Some of the very beautiful organizations, that existed in the past have simply gone defunct because of the lack of funds and lack of planning, yes. And I've sensed that some very beautiful organizations have gone defunct in Pakistan as well. Recently, I was making research on that, and India as well. That has happened. Daratul Ma'arif is on the verge of closing, but it is somehow continuing. They do have a website. You can have a look at it. Darul Musannifin, however, continues. At the moment, they are continuing. They are able to produce new work as well. So this is just two of them, yes, obviously. But there are others, as I mentioned, yes. This gives you an idea about the work that was happening during the colonial period. But these are institutions that exist today as well. So they have continued their work, and they have not left their work after the independence of India, after 1947, which is. So what happens is, what I'm trying to do is take you on a journey from the past to the present, yes. And so we're now sort of coming into the present, and we're trying to discuss about partition, yes. And so the 1857, the British took over, but by 1947, the British realized that they could not sustain India. And so they were considering giving independence to India, and they decided that they were going to break India into three. And at that time, the reality for the Indian Muslims particularly, so the Pakistani Muslims and the Bangladeshi Muslims have a very different reality now in 1947, because Pakistan is 100% Muslim, Bangladesh is majority Muslim, but India is not majority Muslim anymore. And the Muslims, even though they are influential, but are now realizing the challenge of having a predominantly non-Muslim majority and a government which is predominantly non-Muslim, yes. And that really put things into a shock, if I may say. And the lot of the good publishing, the good authors, researchers moved to Pakistan and Bangladesh. India did remain with a sizable number of thinkers and ulama, but this did have an impact on the reality in India and the publishing in India. And as a result of that, there were attempts to address that, and there were a lot of new publishing houses that were established around that time, and some of them continue to exist even till today. Some of them that were established, like for example, the Markazi Maktaba Islami, which was established right around the time of independence or the partition of India, was established, also established a publishing house which is known as Markazi Maktaba Islami. It focuses on contemporary issues, political issues, economics. It's on a wide range of subjects. They have hundreds of titles that they have issued over the past seven decades. And apart from that, there were other publishing houses that came up. Now, I must say that the early years right after independence were not those years where there was a lot of, if I may say, practical steps taken towards setting up new presses. Yes, there were only limited things that were happening. So we're talking about 50s and 60s, not that many new publication houses came up. But the 70s and 80s onwards, you had a lot of new publication houses that came up, and there was a lot of work that was happening. And so we had publishing houses like Idara Ishat-e-Diniyat, which was set up around in the 50s, and it primarily worked to promote the Tablighi literature, which was published by ulama associated with the Tabligh Jamaat. Then there were other publication houses like New Crescent Publications, which was established later on in the 1990s and 2000s, that focused on publishing material related to Islamic awakening, tarbiyah, tazkiyah. And then there are other Islamic, distributors as well, not necessarily publishers. Al Hasanat is one of those. They also have their own books, but also they have distributions. The Good Words Books is a well-known children's books publishers. They have published their own titles apart from taking rights from other Islamic publishers from elsewhere and producing them in India. They are a globally well-known Islamic children's books publisher that are originally from India. Similar is the Islamic Book Service. It's an Islamic publication house set up in the late 19th century. Feroz Media is another of them, focuses on contemporary books and addressing modern realities. There's another publication house that is Other Books. They are a South Indian-based publication house that focus on books from on a varying range of subjects, mostly contemporary. Now, apart from that, I want to make a mention of something that is that these are presses which are sort of modern. They have adapted themselves to the modern reality. So they have emails, they have websites, they have Twitter accounts. But then there is a very big segment of publishing houses based in and around madrasas, which are publishing Islamic texts which are linked to the madrasa. So, for example, Darul Uloom Deoband is situated around 200 kilometers on the eastern side of New Delhi, which is the capital. Darul Uloom Deoband has probably 50 publishing houses just next to the madrasa. However, all these publishing houses focus on their prime audience, which is the students and ulama and researchers associated with the madrasa. So this is an Islamic seminary. It's Madrasa of Ulum Islamiyya, and all their publications are linked to Ulum Islamiyya. But they are very important in the sense that they have an important contribution that they are making. They are also making work. They have worked in the past and they're continuing to work in trying to produce the makhtut, that is a manuscript, into the print, into matbu'. However, in addition to that, there is a very important work that is happening in these areas, which is the work of translation. Now, the problem with these publishers is that a lot of their work doesn't go global. That while we are sitting outside India, we may not be able to appreciate what they are doing, yes, but they've been doing some very important work by doing these translations from Arabic, from Persian into Urdu and other languages, and vice versa. There's also translations happening from Urdu and other languages into Arabic as well. So that cannot be ignored, and that is something that I also have to mention here. And so, apart from that, there's I'm mentioning some of these names. Obviously, as I said, this is not an exhaustive list. And I'm due to send my list of Indian publishers to the organizers. So hopefully, once I have sent that, they can also circulate that with you, and you can also review. So what I will try to do is put the names of the publishers, their websites, their emails, and their addresses. So so you can do your own research in addition to what I've sent. Yes, so it'll make it easy for you to research about them further. Now, one important research academy that was established in the modern times was the Academy of Islamic Research and Publication set up by the Nadwatul Ulama. So they've also published a lot of work related to Islamic awakening, tarbiyah of children. I don't know how, for those of you who are into learning Arabic, there's famous book Qasasun Nabiyyin by Abul Hassan Ali al-Nadawi. So that book comes from this organization. They are behind that book, yes. And so this is effectively the publishing wing of the Nadwatul Ulama, the madrasa known by the name of Nadwatul Ulama. So I'm going to be, obviously, this is going to be one of those that I'll send in the list so you can, inshallah, do your research around that further, inshallah. So I want to talk about now I was talking about general books, yes, but I want to talk about children's books, yes. The children, because that is a different segment. Not all publishers focus on children's books, yes. So I want to bring in names of certain children's books publishers. Again, this is not exhaustive, but these are some of the prominent ones. And I must say that children's books is an area which not a lot of publishers focus on, yes. For some reason or the other, that is an area which I think that the Indian publishers have not done justice to. I will not use the word justice to, but have for some reason or the other not focused on, yes. So one of those publishers is Goodword Books, which we already discussed about. There's another that is Abul Hassan Ali Nadwi Academy. They're a very inconspicuous, a little known organization, but they've done some amazing work in the field of Islamic curriculum. So they've set up their own Islamic curriculum. They've distribute that among schools, and these are brilliant curriculums that they have prepared. Yes. I think, I just want to make a mention. Obviously, this is not related, but the South Africans have done some brilliant work on curriculums for schools and children's. Yes, the South Africans have really done some amazing work. They need to be praised for that. Yes, so it's the similar kind of work is what this academy has done. And then there is Iqra Publications. This is originally from the US. Run by Dr. Abdullah Ghazi and his family. And they've done some brilliant work with producing textbooks and Islamic curriculums for school-going children. So you could have an Islamic school where you could include their curriculum, or you could just simply teach your children at home if they're not going to an Islamic school. But it's a very well-organized, very updated curriculum that they have. I want to make a mention. That is something I forgot. Actually, I just recalled. One of the most important organizations that is working on children's books or on children's tarbiyah, I may say, is an organization by the name of Diniyat. So it's just called Diniyat, yes. And so what Diniyat has done is that they have tied up with masjids all across the country, and they provide the books and the guiding material for teachers to teach the children. And so it's a very efficient model which has really worked so well. In the past 10 or 15 years, they have spread all across the country. Every masjid today has in the north of India at least, has a Diniyat program continuing after Salatul Asr or Salatul Maghrib, where teachers gather children and teach them Quran, and following that they also give them Islamic tarbiyah. So this is like what I can call as an evening school, and the Diniyat Educational Society has done a tremendous job in that domain. And so I could not mention that here. I forgot to mention that. And so the other I want to mention that is the last is the Markazi Maktab Islami, which is a Jamaat Islami wing, the publication wing. They have also done some Islamic books over the years. Now, I want to, so obviously what I've tried to do is give you an idea, yes, so that you can basically build upon that, yes. And so I want to discuss about the Islamic publishing market, yes, in India. What is it? How big is it? How, where is it going? What are my projections? What are the kind of material that can be sold? For as publishers, I know you would be interested in knowing that. And so What I think is important is first of all the market size. We discussed about the number of Muslims in India, and we said that we have close to 200 million Muslims in India, and India is the world's largest has the world's largest population, and it is obviously it is growing. It is continuing to grow, and apart from the Muslims, we have close to 750 or 800 million Hindus, and then Christians and other religions. Yes, and so the range of publications that are sold in the Indian market, yes, include the Quran, the translations of the Quran, the tafsir, the books of fiqh, and their primary target with the Quran and the translations is the general public, but with specific specialist texts, it is the experts and the research scholars and students of madrasas. Then you have educational materials targeting schools and school-going children, yes. And then there is books which is devotional and self-help literature. So we're talking about books of du'as and biographies. These are books that are targeted towards the general audience, yes. And then you have the fiction and non-fictions, which includes novels, poetry, historical accounts, social commentaries with Islamic perspectives. These are those kind of materials that have space to maneuver and enter into the Indian publishing market. And the languages that are prominent is Hindi, and then Urdu, Malayalam remain the biggest or the most dominant languages, yes. But then there is growing demand for Bengali. A significant population of Muslims speak Bengali, and similarly, there is Tamil, which is also spoken by a large population, Telugu and Kannada. And when I say a large population, I'm talking about 10 million plus. Yes, that's the kind of sizes we are talking about. So these are significant languages, and because India is a diverse country, so this is one of the reasons why you have all these languages. And so for any publisher to really think about India, he does not need to think only about one language. For he could enter the Indian market, but he could enter the Indian market with one particular language and then translate his material into another language and be able to reach another segment of the population. I forgot to mention, but I think that needs to be mentioned, which is English. English continues to be a language which many Indians understand. Yes, as some of you may know, that India happens to be the global outsource center, the outsource center for the whole world. Yes, and all these phone calls that are made especially in the Western countries, they land up in India. And that the reason is because Indians speak good English. Yes, so English is like the second language for many, many Indians. And so publishing, if a publisher would want to enter India, he can very easily enter the Indian market with his English books as well. Yes. Now there are some challenges in India, and India, apart from having multiple players that may be working in the same domain, printing the same kind of books, in the sense the same subjects. The biggest challenge in India, and India is sort of infamous for that, is the subject of piracy. So copyright infringement remains a big challenge in India, that a lot of books, a lot of publishers have this complaint, especially from the Western countries, that their books end up entering India without even them knowing that these books are in India. So in fact, they reach India, they get published in India, and then they're resold in the Western countries. Yes. And so what some publishers do, and what we always advise them to do, is that they can address that by having Indian editions. Yes, because the problem with a lot of these Western books is that they are so expensive. Because remember, India has low purchasing power. An average book cost in India is around about $4 to $5. and only for very high in demand titles can you ask for somewhere around $8 to $9, but beyond that is not a norm. And so this is one of the reasons why a lot of these books get pirated in India, and because of their prohibitive costs, because in the West they are very, very expensive. So what happens in India now is that a lot of publishers now have Indian editions. Yes, so they are printed on in India for sale in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, all these countries. This is how these they've been able to address the challenge of piracy. And there used to be this challenge about distribution as well, about reaching remote areas due to and it can be difficult due to logistical and infrastructure limitations. Now I want to talk about accessing the Indian publishing market. Yes, what could be that mechanism to be able to enter the Indian publishing market? Now, first of all, I would say, unlike markets where the Muslims are in, Muslims have been able to organize their publishing industry, like in Malaysia. One of those things Dr. Hashim told us was that they are federations and bodies. So in India, you do have federations, the Federation of Indian Publishers, and there are other bodies for the Indian publishers. They are well organized, but there is nothing for the Muslims. So the Muslims don't yet have something that organizes them, that sort of a union or an association that doesn't exist. So I can say it's fragmented industry, and so that is sort of it puts you, obviously you do not have clarity over into the market, but it also gives you an opportunity. Yes, to be able to enter the market, because it's easier entering an unorganized market and organizing it rather than entering an organized market. Yes, unless obviously entering an organized market has its own pros. Yes, but I'm just talking from a perspective of India, of how it is at the moment. So some of those avenues, how as publishers, yes, if you are interested in selling rights, or if you are interested in buying rights, is through direct connections with a lot of these publishers. The issue with the country as large as India is that not all of them attend all book fairs. So for example, New Delhi Book Fair is something where North Indian publishers will attend. Yes, but many times they don't. Yes, many times their audience does not reach there, so they do not participate in the book fairs. So the best way for book fairs are always a good way to communicate with them. I think close to 8 to 10 publishers do attend the book fair, like the New Delhi Book Fair. About 8 to 10 publishers would attend the New Delhi Book Fair, which is right now happening, by the way. This is it's just started today. It will continue for a week. Some of our brothers and friends from this union as well will be visiting them. So there are already some Islamic publishers who are attending the New Delhi Book Fair. Apart from that, but a lot of them don't attend book fairs, and so the best way to interact with them is to communicate with them via emails and telephone, and discuss with them. Now, this is how it has been in the past. Yes, the traditional mechanism of publishing, in other countries. Yes. By tying up with existing publishers, and by collaborating with existing publishers, either by selling by selling your rights to them. But there is another model that we've worked on. Yes, as a publishing solutions company. Yes, and I should have actually mentioned in the beginning about what the kind of work I do. Yes, so I run a publishing company. I publish Islamic texts, and also books on tarbiyah, tazkiyah, and so we do a lot of translations from Arabic into English. That is one of those areas that we work in. We also take rights to Islamic books and publish them. And I publish in India and in other countries as well. So my books are sold in India and in Western countries as well. And one of those solutions that I give I also run a publishing solutions company, and one of the solutions I give to publishers globally is to be able to access the Indian market and vice versa. So I also help Indian publishers go global. So I've been able to set up networks with printers globally, which enable me to publish books in close to 80 countries in at one time. And so what happens is, what happens is that publishers don't need to invest in maintaining large stocks. And so what happens is we do print on demand. Yes. So once a book is published, yes, let's say, for example, it's available in Poland, in Europe, and a buyer goes to the website, let's say any website that is common there, or even a bookstore, because our books go into bookstores, university libraries, and online as well. And so they go there and they say, listen, I see this book in your catalog. I want this book. And so all it takes is a day or maximum two, and it's printed in the nearest printing press and is sent to the buyer in that period of time. And so what we've been able to do with the Indian market is we've tried to bring the foreign publishers into the Indian market in this manner as well. So we have tie-ups with Indian printers, which enable us to help publish our books in India on a print-on-demand basis. And what happens is, once the order is placed, the book is automatically printed in India at the nearest printing press and is sent to the buyer from there. And so this is one of those other models. Yes, I mean, I'm suggesting it as another model because I believe this is about adapting to modern technologies and trying to move into a new phase. So we are sort of moving from what we can say as a in a phase which was exclusively print to a more to a phase which is more like digital. Yes. And so your data is safe and it's on secure servers. And when the buyer makes an order, the book is sent to the printers automatically, and it is printed and sent to the buyer in a short period of time. Maximum it takes is 3 days in some places, but sometimes it's just 2 days as well. So that is one model that can also be adopted for publishers who are interested in accessing the Indian publishing market. I think I may have, I don't know. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see Amazon on the screen? I don't know if yeah, I think you're seeing the Amazon. No, you're not. Okay, just a moment. Stop. I'm just going to share the screen again. So, for example, I'm just so this is one of the books by a Turkish publisher. His Erkam books. I think Doğan Bey may be here with us. I don't see him, but he may be here. He's and so this book is by Erkam Books, yes, and we work with them apart of along with other publishers. So what we've done is tried to bring this book into India at on Indian prices, and so this can be printed and see free delivery on Monday, 12th February, which is basically day after tomorrow. So if somebody buys it today, he will receive it day after tomorrow in India. And this is our printing press, yes. And so what happens is $349. How many dollars is that? That is 8 3s, 8 4. That is close to $4. Yes, that is $4. And most of the times shipping is free because it is from within the country. Now, this makes it very easy for the buyers, yes, because they trust Amazon. They trust that they can return these books if they don't like it, yes. Or if they have a problem, they can replace it in 10 days. The delivery, look at this, it says free delivery, and the delivery is by Amazon. Now, so we do this system, it's more like a digital system by using our networks with these printers and these distribution systems across the country. And so our books go on many of these websites, including Amazon, Flipkart, Meesho. There are many websites that are there in India where our books are listed and sold. The best part for the publisher is that he does not need to worry about. See here, you can see the name Arqam World, Dar al Arqam. So the best part for the publisher is that he doesn't need to worry about investing in maintaining a stock and then waiting to receive the amounts and waiting before it is sold or maintaining stock the stocks of the books. This is something that we've tried to solve by using these modern systems. And so these are just some of the books that are for Arqam. Yes, there are other publishers, but since we're short on time, I will not go into details. So this is Kindle. That is, we did not publish that, but we did the paperback. Yes. And so these are Indian prices, and all books will have the message behind them. It says that this is only for sale in India and not outside India. So the problem of piracy cannot happen. Yes. So even though it's cheaper in India, but they cannot just simply buy it and sell it outside India for maybe, expensive price. Yes. So
how does this system work actually? Do you buy all the rights at once from the publisher and then you sell it, or is there certain quota system or something like that, that there are X amount of books that you can sell?
I think, okay, just a moment. Yeah, so I'm going to end. I think the question comes at a very at a nice timings. Yes, so I think I want to stop here. I've actually spoken for way longer than I was asked to. So I hope that our organizers are okay with that. And so I'm going to now open the open the mics, inshallah, and we can have question and answers. We can take a few questions, discuss about the Indian market, and discuss about how we can assist other publishers in accessing the Indian market. And inshallah, then we can proceed from there. Yes, please. I think it was Maktaba Islamia, brothers from Pakistan, who asked this question. So is it Maktaba Islamia, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, brothers, Jazakallah khair for your question. And your question, just I'm going to repeat that question. Your question is that how, for example, if you were to, take assistance from a company like mine and take solutions from our company. So how do we really work? Yes. And is it that we take the rights, or is it that we assist the publisher directly? Is that correct? Am I understanding your question correctly?
Yes, quite.
Okay. Well, see, it's all about, it's a matter of understanding, to be very frank. We generally like to put it in a way where we want to assist, basically. This is how we look at it. We don't want to take your rights. We just want to be the mediums. We want to assist you to be able to access a market. In those situations where publishers may want to give us rights, sometimes we actually go to some publishers. We say, can you give us rights for certain books? Yes. So, for example, there may be a book we want to translate. So in those cases, we actually take rights, yes. But generally speaking, as a publishing solutions company, we don't take rights. We are mediums. We are only what we call in Arabic wasit. We are middlemen, if you want to use that word. We are helping you access that market. We are helping a publisher who cannot access that market. We are trying to take him from outside and bring them into India and be able to get their products to the Indian audience. This is what we are doing. I hope I addressed the question.
Yes, so you handle all of the stuff that goes in India. For example, if we want to sell in India, because in Pakistan we have, alhamdulillah, more than 500 different books published of hadith, fiqh, and other on the biographies of the Sahaba and the Prophet. So if we would want to go, so you would manage all the printing and shipping and all the stuff in India.
Yeah. So what happens is our system is a bit different. Yes, it's not like the traditional system. The traditional system requires that when you publish a book, so for example, when you have a book and you want to publish, and so when you publish it, you print an amount. You print maybe 1,000 copies of that book, yes, or the whatever the minimum is, and you put it in a warehouse, and based on the orders that you get from your distributors or from individual buyers, you send it to them, and periodically you send it to them, and you recover your investments from that particular book. Obviously, it's a process that takes a few months, sometimes a few years as well. Now, what we are saying is, how can we help publishers? My idea as a publisher was that how can I make sure that my book reaches the whole world? Number one, how can I ensure that I don't have to invest in maintaining stock? How can I ensure that the book reaches the buyer as soon as possible? Because this was a problem that we were facing frequently with buyers. And so this is why, okay, for those of you who could you please speak? So, okay, I'm just reading the chat. Yes, fine. I will also try to speak slowly. So what we wanted to do is to be able to develop systems so that our books could reach these different places, and the buyers could be able to buy them, and the book reaches them the quickest, while ensuring that our books are safe, in the sense our material, our content is safe. Yes. And so we've built these systems over the past few years, which enables us to store our books on safe servers, secure servers. And we are not the only publishers who work on this model. There are others as well. So it's a very secure system. And only so once the book is on our server systems, the book is distributed or listed on various platforms. Now, I work globally, but I also work for India as well, because I have an Indian setup as well, which is just dedicated for India. And so in India, what happens is the book is listed on Amazon, Flipkart, and Meesho, and all other web platforms. In India, by the way, online purchases are big, yes. A lot of book sales happen online in India. So what happens is, all the books are listed on these platforms, and when a buyer goes on the platform and clicks on buy, the order goes to our server that we need this book. The book is sent to the printer for 7 minutes. And after that, it's deleted. The printing press automatically prints it. There's a person who does the check. Yes. So the human involvement is minimum, but they do the check. Yeah. So they check, and after that, they ship the book. Yes. So it's a very quick process, basically. From the time of purchase to the time of shipping is a very quick process. And so, yes, we all handle all of that. Yes, we handle all of that. There's a lot of automation there, but we don't maintain stock. We don't maintain stock. It's all print on demand. Yes. And we have a transparent system. We keep updating our, those who work with us. And we only work with Islamic publishers, but those publishers who work with us, we keep giving them an update on a regular basis of the sales, of the number of books that are sold during that period of time. I hope that clarifies. Yes.
Dr. Fadil.
Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
This is Khalid Bilbisi from Jordan.
Ahlan bik, Ustad Khalid.
Allah yakrimak. I would like to thank you for your valuable information you shared in your speech, first of all. We need to think about organizing international conference for the publishers during our new union in order to discuss main and important issues we face. Do you think that India could be the right place for organizing such a conference, inviting the people all over the world attending? Is there any kind of Islamic publishers book fairs, for example?
So just to understand that, just to repeat your question, yes, Ustad Khalid, your question is complete. Can I answer?
Yeah.
So your question is that if an international conference could be organized for members of the union and where detailed issues that union members of the union are facing can be discussed. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Ustad Khalid, I can speak about India first of all. In my understanding, modern day India may not be the best environment for Islamic activities. As I mentioned during my discussion as well, that the kind of environment, I'm sure you've been hearing about it in the news, is not very conducive. Yes. Now, unless you want to discuss and meet Indian publishers, that's a very different scenario. If you want to go and meet the Indian publishers, yes, of course, there are various avenues. For example, as I mentioned, some of our guests in this meeting as well are leaving to India. They will be at the Indian Book Fair. There are some who have already left. There will be some who are going tomorrow. So that's a beautiful forum to go there, to understand, to interact, to learn, to think, brainstorm. That is all doable. However, when you're talking about issues to do with members of the union, our issues, our challenges, our ideas about our prospects, how to grow our business, how to reach different markets, etc. All of that probably needs to be organized, at a place which is more neutral or maybe more friendly and more central. I don't know. I always believe Istanbul is that beautiful place. It's the center of the world, as they say. Or it could be even Jordan. Yes. This is something that the organizers, the union organizers like Dr. Muhammad Ayrakcha and Dr. Mehmet and other brothers need to really think about. Yes. But there is a very interesting meet that happens. I'm sure, Ustad Khalid, you know about the Istanbul Fellowship that happens. Yes. The Istanbul Fellowship is also is a very similar meet, which could probably have a segment just to discuss the issues to do with the union. That could also happen. Yes, and it's happening the next month, and this could be another of those agendas that is addressed there. Obviously, I am not the Sahib al-Qarar here. I am not the person who decides. I'm just throwing my ideas. It's the people who are there. Our organizers are already there. I'm sure they're making the notes. They will obviously bring ideas and solutions around that, hopefully, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much.
Barakallah fiqh, Ustad Khalid.
May I have a question, please, about publishing, Islamic publishing in India? What is the effects of urbanization on Muslims and Islamic publication? Is it a growing tendency? Has it a growing tendency, or are there pressures on Islamic publishing and education there?
You said, can I just repeat the question, Ustad Tunjai, right? Your name is Tunjai.
Yeah.
Ustad Tunjai, so I understand you're saying what is the effect of urbanization on Islamic publishing? And is there any pressures that are developing on Islamic publishers as a result of urbanization? Would you want to shed some more light? Why do you think that urbanization would build pressures on publishers?
Not, you should understand, not negatively. There may be positive effects. I ask both.
Or you mean generally how modernization, urbanization is affecting Islamic publishers? Well, I would say it's...
By the way, this question comes from the acceptance of that villagers or village areas are less demanding for books.
Yes.
So more urbanization leads to more demand for publishing. I don't know. Is it
okay? I think in India it's to do more with education. In certain areas where there is higher education, is more demand, and it's always in India linked to the idea of education. For example, in southern states, there is very high demand of books in the language of Malayalam. and the cultural and literary scene in those areas is very different to those in the north. The northern areas are comparatively less educated, and so they have different dynamics. They have a different environment. Altogether, urbanization has obviously, been an advantage for Islamic publishing. And especially the advent of the internet, books have become very accessible. And India is one of those countries which has been an early adopter of technology, and so they have a lot of systems in place which enable people to buy material, and that can reach even the last corner of the country. So even from the remotest of the villages, which are far away, people can go on a website like Amazon, or maybe on Flipkart, or maybe on any of those websites which are popular, and they can go and buy a book, and it will be delivered to them. And because India is considered a country which has low purchasing power, the material, they generally have, the prices are low and the shipping is free. So so I would say modernization or modernity and the advent of internet has definitely benefited the Muslim Islamic publishing scene. Also, there are a lot of Islamic publishers from abroad who are now being able to sell their books in India. Some of them are now having, Islamic publishers are having Islamic Indian editions. So I came across this very interesting bookstore called Ilim Store, and they are now publishing Indian editions of very popular books from the United Kingdom. So the UK has a lot of Islamic publishing houses, and some of the best Islamic publishing has happened over the years in the UK, primarily in English language. And so a lot of those books are now, and obviously this is happening by taking rights. So these people from Ilm Store are taking rights, and they are reproducing these books at Indian prices for the Indian market. And so this is and this is thanks to the internet. Internet is a ni'mah from Allah. That is all due to the internet that they're able to do this. So this is what it is. This is how I think. I hope that addresses the question, Ustad Tonjay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Barakallahu feek. So if you have any other questions, we can take them. Otherwise, hopefully, we can end here. I'll just wait for a moment if anybody has questions.
Okay, dear. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I am Dr. Syed Shahid Ahmad from Bangladesh.
Ahlan wa sahlan, Dr. Syed. Ahlan wa sahlan.
May Allah bless you.
Ameen. All of us. Ameen.
Appreciate your valuable discussion. I so astonished that you have given us the more information regarding the institution of India subcontinent. It is a great possibility to publishing market in India. In connection, there are the Muslim organization in India. As it is explained. Thank you.
If somebody could, of the organizers, Amir Saleh's mic, please. Yes, Dr. Saeed. Somebody was speaking in between. Yes, please.
I am giving again thanks for your research.
Yes, please.
And my question: can reformed joint fund among the publishers for improving the quality? The answer. So I am through you. I would like to know about the question and answer from this perspective.
Dr.
I'm repeating.
Yes, if you could repeat the question, just.
Reform jointly fund among the publishers for improving the quality books.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand the question, you're saying, can there be a joint fund to improve the quality of books? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, and quality of books, in what sense are you saying, Dr. Saeed? Is it in terms of distribution, in terms of printing, in terms of just research?
All the things maybe include in this same printing and designing, formatting, on other things to accept the publishers, accept the sellers and buyers who will collect the book easily.
And you said there could be a joint fund for that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Nice. If the organizers could please either stop Brother Amir, because his mic seems to be switching on and off. It seems it's in his pocket or something. Yes, there seems to be a problem. So he's coming back on and off.
I'm asking through you.
Yeah, Dr. Saeed's fine. Yes, I understood your question. So, well, Dr. Saeed, I think obviously this is a bit beyond my purview, in the sense this is beyond my capacity to answer on behalf of the organizers of the union. I'm a member of the union, but I cannot speak on behalf of the union. Yes. However, yes, in principle, they can be a fund that that benefits the union members. There are a lot of ideas that we are discussing now at the union. If the organizers could simply remove Brother Amir, he's not probably attending the session. He's just put it in his pocket and is switching on and off. So thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So
Thank you
Dr.
so
Saeed,
much.
no, I'm going to answer you. So what is happening in between is, if you're noticing, there is Brother Amir, his mic is switching on and off. So I'm unable to respond to you because I'm getting interruption from Brother Amir. Yes, but he's now they've addressed the issue. So I'm going to address what you're saying. What I'm saying
Okay,
is,
later on, if I get chance, I will ask again this question.
yeah, no, but I can just make a short comment. Yes, and the organizers also can address about this. But there are a lot of ideas that the union is thinking about. One of those ideas also should include, and I believe the organizers probably are already working on it, is about having detailed databases with respect to the best printing places, also best practices for publishers, on the lines of the International Publishing Association. If you've noticed how the Americans have this organization, there is this Independent Authors Alliance, there is this Independent Publishers Alliance, and all of these alliances. So when they have these alliances or these unions, they have a lot of material they provide to the union members. Yes. I think that will happen. It will just take some time. This is literally the second session we are having. And I know this is tremendous effort that our brothers are putting, the organizers, they're putting a lot of their time, they're putting a lot of efforts. And I know all of you were coming from all across the world. So I thank you for all of you for, taking from your time, joining us here. But I think this is going to happen. And I think we should have separate sessions probably to discuss that. Probably at the Istanbul Fellowship Forum, those of you who are attending, we can also discuss these in person and formulate ideas about how practically we can take this forth. I hope that addresses, inshallah, the question. If we don't have any more questions, because we are now at 3:10, so we are 10 minutes over time. So I would want to announce that next month, on the 9th, our brothers from Bangladesh will be, inshallah, making the presentation, which is on the 9th of March. So please mark that on your calendars. And I hope that today's session was beneficial. I hope you were able to gather some information and understanding about the Indian market. And I will share the PDF, the PPT with you in the group. And hopefully I will also share another database with the details of the Islamic publishers in India. You can all connect with me on. I'm in the group on WhatsApp, and you can also connect with me over email and WhatsApp, and I'm also available on Twitter. So we can also further discuss about India if you have any ideas, and maybe there are issues that I am unaware about. So I would also like to learn, inshallah. So Jazakumullah khair. And with that, I end this session. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Dr. Fazal Kareem. Thank you very much for your very good presentation and good moderation.
Assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Fazal Kareem, I'm from Pakistan. My name is Saud Usmani, and I have a publishing house, Idara Islamiyat, here in Lahore, Pakistan. So it was a nice presentation, and we learned a lot. Thank you for this, and congratulations on this successful event.
Barakallahu fiqh.
Thank you.
Allah enable us and give us tawfiq to do what will serve his deen.
Ameen. Ameen.
Dr. Mahmoud, apologies. Yes, please continue.
Thank you so much for all participants and to all members of our association. And I hope this kind of activities are very useful to all our members and our followers. And I hope, inshallah, in the future, again, we can realize the same thing. But more importantly, inshallah, with the association, we can empower our activities in all of the world for the future of Islamic world and humanity, inshallah. Thank you so much again, Dr. Fazal Kareem and members and the participants, and hope to see you, inshallah, in 9th of March. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fi amanillah.